Patience Key, we're always so glad to have you as you have served in a multitude of roles, and most recently, you're now serving as the president and CEO of Nigerians in the Diaspora Chamber of Commerce. So, thank you for joining us. We know this is a busy time across the world and specifically in the United States. We recently hit the mark of 100 days of the new presidential administration in the U.S. Tell us how Nigerians in the diaspora and Nigerians in the U.S. specifically, as we know there's over 500,000 Nigerians in the U.S., and obviously Nigerian born in the U.S. is increasing by the day. Tell us how this new administration is impacting the Nigerian community and some of the things that are as a result of this new administration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mara Bird, for this interview. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time with you always. So thanks for having me. Yeah, Trump is back again as president of the United States. The administration has implemented several policies, which significantly affect the Nigerian community. And like you said, over 500,000 Nigerians in the United States. And we're looking in the areas of immigration and international relations. So in the areas of immigration policies, remember in 2020, during his last administration, we expanded the travel ban to include Nigeria, citing concerns over security protocols and information sharing practices. This action, also restricted Nigerians from obtaining immigration visas, also, and which led to also hindering family reunifications and a migration of professionals, like people who want to do sabbatical leaves, people who want to do education exchange programs and other things. In addition to this, the administration also, stringent immigration policies also led to increase in deportations of Nigerians. The report indicates that over 3,000 Nigerians faced deportation under these very, very measures, which not only affected individuals directly, involved, but also the broader implication for Nigerian diaspora and also their family. Then the economic implication. This administration trade policies, including the imposition of tariffs on various countries, raise concerns, potential impacts on trade relationship between U.S. and the African nation, which Nigeria is a big part of it, the giant of Africa. The AGOA Growth and Opportunity Act, which was set up to provide duty access to U.S. market for eligible African countries. This faced its own uncertainty due to these these measures due to the policies. And the weakening of AGOA also posed a risk to sectors like textiles and agribusinesses, which benefited from the program. And also the diplomatic relations. The diplomatic tension, also arose following the inclusion of Nigeria in the travel ban. The Nigerian government expressed concerns over the decision, emphasizing its commitment to addressing these very issues highlighted by the US. These developments, definitely strains relationship between the two nations. So, in summary, the administration policies, Trump's administration policies introduced challenges for Nigerian community in the US. This affects immigration opportunities, like mentioned, economic prospects, and also the diplomatic ties. And one thing is this: when people are being chased out of work impromptu and without without knowing what was coming to them and all that, in the end, it poses is a lot of risk, not only on the people, even on the economy. Because when people don't have jobs, when businesses are suffering and all that, people begin to think of a lot of things which lead to crime and corruption in the community. So as the administration is doing this, they should also be thinking of the kind of impact, that, will come on the economy as a whole.
So, you mentioned something very key around business jobs. We know that one of the major impacts has been federal government layoffs, most recently as a measure to be able to bring some sort of a scaling down and to bring more efficiencies into the government by the administration. How has this federal government layoffs impacted the Nigerian community, if at all?
Nigerians, just like the United States a few years ago, cited Nigerians as the most, the less than 1% of the Black community doing great things. Definitely, this layoff has impacted our community, even if we don't have a specific number for it. The layoff, because of the restructuring, like you said, within the U.S. Federal government, which include Nigerian Americans. Those, but like I said, specific data, it's not there to be able to talk about it, but the scope of this workforce, include looking at the federal employment. Nigerian Americans employed in the federal agencies face job insecurity due to the administration efforts to downsize the federal workforce. Agencies like Department of Health and Human Resources, Nigerians are big in the health industry, and also the Internal Revenue Service, IRS. These sectors, these departments have, experienced substantial layoffs, with HHS planning to reduce its staff by nearly 25%, and the IRS drafting plans also to potentially have its workforce. Then the immigration services, the layoffs also have impacted immigration-related services. U.S. citizenship and immigration services terminated, nearly 50 employees identified as non-mission critical personnel in probation status. And guess what? Nigerian immigrants seeking visas, residency, and citizenship, this is where it also affects us. Looking at community service and support, the restructuring of the agencies like the health department, which oversees programs such as Medicaid, and community health centers, also face disruption services to many Nigerian American families, that rely on on Medicaid for healthcare and social support. Then economic impact. The layoffs also, contribute to broader economic challenge, including increased unemployment and reduced consumer spending, which can, affect minority communities, Nigerian Americans, particularly those, that are employed in affected sectors. They may experience financial hardship as a result. The federal government's, layoffs and restructuring had multifaceted impacts on Nigerian American. This affects employment, it affects access to immigration, it affects community service, and it affects the overall economic stability. These individuals of that are laid off, they will think of how to pay their rent. They will think of food. They will think of a lot of things, So, and apart from even people being laid off, businesses are folding up. So you have just, if businesses are folding up, companies are laying off, private companies also are also laying off because, a lot of the downsizing are also affecting them. How quickly can those people get jobs to be able to feed their family, to be able to pay their bills, to be able to... So I think United States is actually opening the door for a lot of crimes, corruption, and, some ill happening in the community.
You mentioned small businesses, and as the president and CEO of the Nigerians in the Diaspora Chamber of Commerce, small business is actually at the heartbeat, right? And we know the American economy thrives off of small businesses. Tell us a little bit about how the tariffs, we know that is the big news of the day over the last few weeks, is kind of the trade wars. There are those who have seen the trade wars as a way for countries to come to the U.S. to try to provide strategies so that the U.S. could potentially put themselves in a better position economically. How have these tariffs impacted Nigerian small businesses and those business owners? And obviously, what is the position of the chamber as it relates to these tariffs?
Yeah, as the president and CEO of the Nigerian Diaspora Chamber of Commerce, I'm deeply concerned. I'm very deeply concerned about the substantial impacts that President Trump's recent tariffs will have on Nigeria-owned businesses in the United States. The administration actually imposed imposition of 10% baseline tariff on all imports, coupled with a specific 14% tariff on the Nigerian imports to the US. This poses challenges for our community. Then I'll look. This poses challenge in areas like increased operational costs. Many Nigerian-owned enterprises in the US rely on imported goods from Nigeria, because we have to eat our food, we have to wear our clothes and things like that. And also from other countries. These new tariffs, will elevate the cost of these imports, which leads to operational expenses. It leads to small businesses which often operate with limited profit margins. These small businesses will be the ones to suffer this increase in tariff. It will also difficultly absorb this increased costs. I mean, the small businesses, to be difficult for them to absorb this increase in costs, and consequently, they might be forced to raise prices. When you're not able to, when the operational cost is high, definitely what you want to do is increase costs. So it will force them to raise prices, potentially reducing their competitiveness and affecting customer retention. This will make them not to have that customer loyalty. And also in the area of supply chain disruption, the tariffs are very likely to cause disruptions in supply chains, especially for businesses that source unique products from Nigeria. For example, the enterprises dealing with specialty foods, textiles, and handcrafted goods. These enterprises may face delays and increased expenses in procuring these items. Such disruptions, can hinder the ability to meet customer demand and maintain inventory. Another area is the strain and the consumer relationship. Passing on the increased costs to consumers through higher prices may strain relationship, just like I explained earlier, with their customers with their customer base, because of which often bring in price sensitivity. This situation is particularly concerning for our businesses. Predominantly African community serving the predominantly the African communities. This also where disposable income may be limited. Another is So in overall, strain on consumer relationships, supply chain, and increased operational costs. Then the challenges in business planning and growth, the unpredictability introduced by these tariffs complicates strategic planning for Nigerian entrepreneurs. Uncertainty regarding future trade policies and potential retaliatory measures from Nigeria or other nations. This adds risks to businesses. All we will keep doing as an organization, it's advocacy and support. So we'll keep advocating, engaging with policymakers to communicate the adverse effects of the tariff and seek exemption or policy adjustments, favorable to our businesses. Also, we're also in the area of education, informing our members about the specifics of the tariffs and providing guidance on compliance and mitigation strategies. Then we're also involved in resource sharing, helps to facilitate access to resources that can help businesses to navigate increased costs, such as identifying alternative supplies or exploring cost-saving technologies. Then in the area of networking, we create platforms for businesses to share their experiences, solutions, and also support during this challenging period we are faced in the United States. It's imperative for Nigerian business owners to stay informed and proactive. And the chamber does not just serve only Nigerian business owners. We are global. We serve the American community, the Nigerian community, other African emerging markets, because our primary aim is to bridge that gap between the emerging markets and the global markets. So collaborative efforts, within our community will be essential to adapt to these changes and also to continue to thrive, despite the current economic challenges. That's where we are right now as a Chamber of Commerce.
Well, Patience, we thank you so much for your time. We thank you for giving us some details into how the Nigerian community is impacted and how they're responding to the recent changes in the U.S. presidential administration. So thank you again, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. We know this will be much more to discuss in the future.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure as always. My pleasure.